Thanks for coming to the podcast.
Has it started?
Pack Improv Podcast, yeah. Well, it started now.
Okay.
And well, thank you very much.
Woo!
My guest this week is, of course,
Rasika Mathur.
Rasika Mathur.
However people want to pronounce it.
I was glad to have you say it. I said Mather or Mather. I was going to say Mather.
Who cares about the last name? Oh, I'm sorry, Papa. I do. I love my last name.
Now, I first met you probably about, I'm guessing 8 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, but I didn't take your class until 6 years ago, I'm guessing.
All right.
It was a year where I was kind of done with all the schools. I like to say that you study with Miles when you're a fuck you to everything else. Because he takes you improvisers on the fringes. You know, you're either ready to say no more to acting or no more to your life. And then he's just like, come, my children, there's still a way. And it doesn't have to be that. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt when we were all
love that.
Upstairs.
I would love to make that our new slogan somehow. Study here and say "fuck you" to everything else.
I think so. I didn't know if you'd be okay with that description.
I love that description. That's a positive thing for me. If it was study here because fuck this place, that's not so good. So what have you been? I mean, because you studied here. What have you been doing?
I think I've been really trying to see, am I an actor? Am I a writer? Am I a writer who's getting older, so I really better be writing more? Because, your face matters in LA and shit. But who cares? Betty White's still working.
I wouldn't know about the face thing.
Well, I mean, what have you learned about the face and the looks?
Mine doesn't apparently fit anywhere.
That's not true. Really?
Oh, that's been my experience. For commercially is like the only thing I got. I've been called back. I have a streak of 15 avails to no booking. We're just he was really good at the audition. I don't know. I just don't. His face doesn't belong anywhere.
Are you serious? Are people really?
No, they don't say that. But there's something for it. It's just bad luck, bad timing, I guess.
They have workshops about that to help you learn. It's not you. It's the 14 other things the casting director's thinking about.
I took one of those, and it was very insightful. I learned that I'm a really nice guy from the workshop, which is actually kind of funny to me.
Do you bring that into the room then?
Apparently, I do. According to that particular workshop, and I'm just like, really? Because normally, I think people think I'm kind of an angry dick. Yeah.
Yes. How are they seeing this nice side?
Apparently, I walk in the room and I'm just all sunshine and flowers.
Well, maybe that's why you're not booking.
Well,
you're not being yourself.
I said this on. I think I was talking with Derek Mears on a podcast about this. Where it's like if I walk into a room. And apparently my natural thing is to come across as a nice guy. And my thinking is that I'm an angry guy, so I'm trying hard to come across nicer. Then I must be walking in just saccharine, sweet, awful. Like the guy who walks into the room is like, all right, no one swear because this guy just walked into the room. But yeah, no, it's just, I don't really give a shit about that aspect of it, other than the fact that I would love to make some money.
Yeah, that's a big aspect.
Yes, it is a big aspect. But I've learned, I'm told that podcasting is the way to millions. Millions
How
of
much
dollars.
are we getting on this little run here?
This is just starting. This is the first podcast, which I'm in the hole on.
Mm-hmm. You need to set it up with your advertisers, etc.
Yes, I set up with all my advertisers.
All of them.
All of them.
All one of them.
But you've had some success out there, huh?
I think so. If we have to look at it as the few successes that will come, they come here and there and here and there, right? There's that group of us. I'm a here and there kind of person. And like when you IMDb yourself, you kind of see, hey, yeah, fuck, I worked every year. There's one project listed every year. They get more sparse. But I've learned that I do have to really look at those successes because there might have been a 6 months of a mind shift that went into booking, like Crazy Stupid Love, getting a movie, you know, which came out of, you know, reading for The Best Friend. But that went to a name. I mean, even Parminder Nagra was auditioning in that room. And, you know, she had Bend It Like Beckham, so everyone wanted to book her.
Right.
But then the way I got my small, tiny role is they didn't need to read me again. They just, they thought, well, she's obviously got it, so put that 2-liner on her. And then that 2-liner just pays every year with a couple of residuals. And then you can file for unemployment off of that. And then don't forget about the taxes. So most of these things that you need to get paid for by booking, I've done the math, they'll pay you 6 times over. This is the first time you get paid. You're also getting an IMDb credit. That's money. You're also getting whatever comes out of people knowing you did that gig. Then you get the residuals, which also go on for life. And then there's filing for unemployment, which you do after any gig stops or money stops. And then
wait a minute.
The taxes. You're getting
actors
half back.
can like act in a movie, and when the movie's done, they can file for unemployment?
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Think of the savings and the money, the 14 years that you did. Listen, not everyone knows this. My successful, like lots of bookings every year, cousin, brother-in-law, he told me about this. And I have a dad who thinks, don't ever go on unemployment. Yeah, it's shameful.
I'm with him. What the fuck?
Well, because you don't want to be associated with that word. But he told me anytime a gig ends, you file for it. Just like anyone with a 9-to-5, if your job ended.
But what if you what if you do a gig, but you also have a job? You can't file for it then, right?
What kind of job?
Like you teach improv at a theater you run.
Is the money under the table?
No,
it's all legit.
Yeah, it's all legit.
So you would just see what you would get from any jobs that were W-2. There's 1099 jobs and there's W-2 jobs. And the way I've done it is there's self-employed income. I don't know if you're teaching kind of goes under that category. That won't count.
It's self-employed, but this is also now an LLC, so it's incorporated somewhat.
Well, if it's not W-2, and residuals are, right, from gigs, then depending on how much you made in the highest quarter of the last 18 months, the last 12 months, that becomes your wage base from which they'll determine, you get $450 a week, or it's not that much, so you're eligible for $200 a week.
If I had like one good 3-month stretch, I could then say, that's what I fucking make all the time, and you got to base my unemployment on that?
For a year. Or until those residuals, until the unemployment amount runs out.
Okay. I'm not doing this.
Whatever it is, whatever your last 12 months is, Miles, you should go back and look at...
I'd probably owe money if I did that. It makes it a little that I owe money.
Secrets to try to stay employed.
No, I'm sure that'll be
here.
Useful to some people. I never heard that. Well, at the same time, I was paying for my AOL account up until just a few years ago. And someone just said you don't have to pay for your AOL account. It was a few years ago. To be honest, I think someone told me maybe 6-8 years ago. Whatever. For way too long, I was sending out whatever it was, $10-15 a month to AOL to get the AOL screen to pop up. And all right, is this the internet? And I'm an idiot. And there are still people paying for that. They've got to be, because it's just like I was. It's like, you got to pay for your internet. That's what you do. Nothing's free in life.
See, now you're making me think of 2001. You're saying that's when you came out here.
Uh-huh.
And still that's when I had AOL Messenger at that time. It broke me into the internet. And I would print out the conversations I'd have with my crushes. Like, it was ridiculous. Just analyze, like, he likes me there. We're flirting there. But 2001 is when 9/11 happened, and I remember still being in Chicago, and we were all worried after we'd heard about what happened in New York that, they're going to get the Hancock Tower next. I mean, where were you?
Oh yeah, I was here. I was in Hollywood, and I remember what was effed up about that was apparently my wife's mother had called her, right? Because we hadn't heard about it. We were basically waking up. And I was asleep. And my wife's mom calls, talks to my wife. And basically she's a, frantic woman. And my wife wakes me up going, we're under attack. I mean, that's when you woke up and someone's screaming, we're under attack. I'm looking at the door. I'm just like, where? Who is attacking us? But then, it's this. I'm like, don't scream, you're under attack, and wake someone up.
That was your first priority.
Hell no, I was just like, I'm under attack. It's like, what the hell's going on? But then you wake up, and I remember I woke up in time to see, it almost sounds like I woke up in time to catch the good part. I woke up shortly before the second plane hit. Because I remember seeing that hit live. It was just surreal. Well, way to bring us into 9/11, Rasika.
You like how I did that?
Yeah,
2001 AOL.
Yeah.
Those are the transition points. But more so that was my last few months in Chicago. And then I came out here.
Were you in Chicago? I'm from Chicago.
I only did a few years there. I started studying improv at Second City because I wanted to be a stand-up, but I wanted to know how to deal with hecklers. So someone told me you should, get some improv under your belt, figure out what to do in case that happens. And just started studying with Second City, my favorite school to this day.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I never said fuck you to Second City.
Oh. I cannot say the same thing.
This we have to hear.
Did you study anywhere else in Chicago? The Annoyance, CIO?
Well, I kind of studied with Joe, or I performed with him, and he directed me separately. I didn't get to take classes with him. I got a pilot with Bob Odenkirk out here, and that brought me out here before I finished level 5 at Second City. So I still feel like, a Second City, like I need to go back and get my GED.
You gotta get that T-shirt, man.
I need to get my.
They give you a red T-shirt when you
finish 5 with your group, and then you put on a show. I have to be here in LA for 16 consecutive weeks to do that whole thing. It's probably worth it. Otherwise, it's unemployment or that.
Unemployment. That's sweet unemployment.
This is all about what I haven't done. By the way. You can IMDb the rest.
What was the thing I saw you did? Wild something?
Wild and Out.
Wild and Out.
Or as my agent calls it, Wet and Wild.
All right. And why does your agent call it Wet and Wild?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know if that's...
I'm not familiar with the show, I have to admit.
A good agent move.
I heard it was a big thing.
It was, it's like the urban Whose Line Is It Anyway? And so we got to do, a lot of improv, a lot of sketch, a lot of, camera improv.
Wait a minute. The urban Whose Line Is It Anyway? So did someone make like a McDonald's cast and...
Is that what they're called?
That's what I remember being called.
A cast of diverse ethnicities.
Yeah, you see, McDonald's was always on that, I think. It was like every commercial you see, there's someone from every race somewhere in there. So I remember being called McDonald's.
Well, it was Nick Cannon, and, his thing was he always likes to give new people opportunities. He likes to foster talent, etc. So I think the show is in its 8th season now. I got to do 1 through 5. And they're like, all right, that's enough opportunity for you.
Enough opportunity for you?
Go make a Vine video. Which is where they're now pulling their people from. A lot of young people, YouTubers and all.
It's actually kind of funny because this is actually my attempt at, basically not sitting somewhere just thinking and being a curmudgeon.
I think it's great, Miles. It is.
I know the way you said that. It sounded weird.
Well, let me tell you, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of my friends from Browntown in the front row who do the Don't Come to LA podcast. Because anyone who's taken it upon themselves to do at least 10 episodes already, you're way ahead of someone like me. I just have, John Nash from A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
He just would have those crazy ramblings. Like, I actually have those huge papers on my wall, and ideas. Some are from pot smoking sessions. It's just ideas after ideas, which I'll never follow up on. But I had one for the podcast, and then I go back and look at it when I'm sober, and it's like, God, that's a really good idea. I should follow through. Then I have to smoke. Let me follow through today. But there's all these ideas, and it was about relationships. But I kept thinking, oh, my relationship has to be really good for me to, be able to preach about relationships. And so every time we'd break up, I'd think, fuck, I can't do that podcast. And then when we'd get along really well, we're not doing a podcast. We're getting along, having our life,
Right.
So I never
because
got
all relationships are about getting along. That's all there is.
Well, I don't know.
Hey, just get along, man.
He said lately, this is the guy said, I'm going to start periscoping our fights. That was, maybe that's a good way to stay relevant.
Did he manage to slide in a way of calling you fat at the same time? What a dumbass move. I'm going to periscope our fights.
So I didn't
So I can show you where you're wrong.
Exactly. I thought, no, we're not gonna, it'll tarnish whatever small image I have left. But although it could leave the viewers hoping that we make up at the end. And that could be the thing that people tune in for. And it wouldn't even be weekly. It's just whenever we fight, which was always, So I don't know.
So there's content.
I didn't want to expose us that often, but yeah. It's still an idea. Don't take my idea.
No, well,
you stay weekly.
Yeah, no, for me, it's interesting just because I spent I was such a sort of an idiot in a way where I was just sort of a moron. I'm a purist. I don't write things down basically because it's improv, and if I wrote anything down, I'd be betraying myself or something. And then all of a sudden, 25 years pass, and you're like, I have nothing. I'm a really good improviser, and I have nothing. And so now I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing the blog, where I'm starting to write stuff down. Mm-hmm. And part of that is just because, what it is in part, I have kids. And I'm just like, should I not be there at some point in their life when they want to know this stuff? It's got to be down somewhere. So that's part of the reason I'm doing it. The other is just this filthy podcast money that just keeps rolling in. I swear to God, if you're out there and you want to do a podcast, do it. Because the minute you do it, a truck pulls up to your house full of cash and just dumps it on you.
How old are your kids now?
I have a daughter who's 8 and a son who's 4.
Oh. Well, should you not be there, the daughter will take most of your wisdom, and she'll, she's already doing it probably.
She is.
Big sister.
She's actually, she does. She's great. She'll say, "and scene" to me. When we're doing a bit or something and she's had enough of it, she's like, "and scene."
She's got a hold on you.
I'm done with this bit.
She's speaking your language.
All right. Do you have any questions? I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. We got a nice little group of people here. Anything at all? Yeah.
What was it like improvising on the show?
Improvising on the show, I'd say it was kind of nerve-wracking, I might be one of those people who you get your taste of TV and you see how much of it is a, mental exercise to get up there and believe in yourself enough to produce and do what it's going to take to produce. Because, I don't know, when it comes to stage, there's a confidence there. But TV, I don't know. I don't know if that I had it at the same level. So I would have to mentally prep myself. Then I'd, throw out my bits. And it's really that kind of show where you're just trying out your stuff. But the more you try out your stuff, the more likely your stuff will get used. And I had some really good shit that would end up on the cutting room floor. And that made me so bitter about television, because I started to feel like I was that person. And then you could always play the race card, but the whole show was a race card. The McDonald's show. But I have to say, because it doesn't occur to you when you're doing it. I'll just speak for myself, but now looking back, it's like, holy shit. I did 5 seasons of a show. That is something to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Did you hear that, Papa?
Let's all be proud.
They're proud of me.
Of little Rasika. What was it? That always made me think of when you go to an audition, they say improvising a must, strong improv skills a must. I remember this if I walk into a room and they say, all right, we want you to improvise, and I'm like, I think that means a different thing to you than it means to me. Because if you really want me to improvise, we're probably going to travel in time and people are going to die. So, I mean,
there's rules.
So what are you really asking me here?
What do they ask you to do in your commercial auditions? Like, what's the improv that leads to your avails and?
Well, it's usually not the improv to me, because what they think is improv is basically do the script pretty much. Maybe you change a couple words or here and there to make it feel. I mean, it depends on who the hell you're playing for.
Yeah, because in TV, the writers get pissed off when you change your words.
But I've never, I think it's more just like I can play what I'm doing, and I do it. But whenever I've been asked to improvise, I'm always just like, I don't think you want that. I think you want me to like come up with a couple lines for you, right? A couple funny things to say. But if you really cut me loose, this is not going to end well. So that's probably something I still need to figure out. Although I wish they would come out with a definition for what exactly they're asking for when they say we want improvisers, because I don't think they even know what it means.
Well, I did an AT&T thing, and they brought me back like a couple of times because I was giving them all this gold after, like, you go a little wild as the camera's still running, and then they didn't book me. So you kind of feel like they just took my shit. Those writers took my shit.
I remember going
and I used to do that job, copywriter.
I remember going on some.
Used to write for McDonald's.
All right. I remember going on one fucking audition in particular. There was literally, you had to sign like a bunch of stuff going into this audition, and they were keeping players in there for like half an hour. So there was a big backup in this thing. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And eventually, I get there. I'm reading all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. They're going to make you improvise for like 30 minutes, and they get to keep anything you do in the room, right? This is just robbery. And I called my agent. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm out of this. Is bullshit. And I saw a bunch of people I knew there. I'm like, wow, they're going to use all of you and take your shit. I'd never seen. It couldn't have been more obvious. We don't have an idea, but between all of us here today, we will have an idea.
Do you think that attitude is keeping us smaller? The not sharing and the having to protect our ideas? Because my mom said the same thing. She's like, no, you keep everything under foils. Don't let your ideas out. And yet, it's when we let those ideas out, I mean, that's when people start to see what we can do. I've always been worried about people stealing my shit, but I just feel like that's not the attitude that's going to lead to anything other than
funny because there's like
upset.
Like I don't have a bunch of stuff out there to be stolen really, except like what I know about improv, and that's all. It's funny, I've never thought of it as being stolen, just because I thought, well, it's an art form, so you're adding to it and you're furthering it and you're trying to figure it out. But then all of a sudden, I read online about someone writing something and it's just like word for word something I said, and I'm just like, oh, you said that? And I remember you being in my class, you son of a bitch. Don't do that. Most people are good, I think, improvisation about crediting where they learned something. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's funny, I didn't think about it for the longest time, because I was just like, no, I just made something up so I could get to a next place. Yeah. In my process. And that wasn't until years later. Sometimes I'd look back and go, I invented that. All right, anything else? Any other questions?
Even about unemployment and filing and
the specifics of how to file for unemployment.
If you apply in October, November, December, you're looking at the previous 18.
Sure, go ahead.
So how did you get through those mind games and build your confidence? Like, what did you do? Did you read books?
Yeah, a lot. There was a big gap between season 4 and season 5. In that time, I had smoked a lot of pot. And I found that I wasn't as sharp in season 5.
Strange thing happened. Completely bizarre, unrelated thing happened.
So, you know, that became the fear on that season is like, am I going to be funny without it? That was never a problem before. In other seasons, I did this in my one-woman show. I talked about what the insecurities were. Just that in season 1, it was, you know, why am I here? And season 2, it was, you know, you start getting benched for a couple of episodes. It's like, what did I do wrong? How come I'm not in all the episodes? By season 3, they were dressing us different. You know, they want to bring up their ratings. So the girls have to be in like vampy makeup and little skirts. And the humor we were doing, it was like about Chris Brown and Rihanna and controversial stuff, but they wanted jokes about it. So I would think, I don't want to do this anymore. That's where my fuck you came into play, where I saw, oh, you know, when you work in this industry, there's things you're going to have to do that might morally, you know, not sit right with you. So that's when that part of Rasika started to emerge. And then I think by season 4, there were fans that wanted to see more of me. So that insecurity became about, what if I let these people down? You know, I couldn't even just enjoy that there's some people can just let all this stuff come to them. And I have yet to be that person. So I have really found that it's kind of like what we were saying out there. It might be one little thing you say to yourself. Like, you know what I had to tell myself before this? I said, you just pretend that you're one of Miles's students. And this is the week he's interviewing you and playing with you. But he does this every week with all his students. That way, it becomes okay in my head. Otherwise, it's up here. And I'll never be good enough for something up there. But if I look at it like we're all in first grade and everyone gets their chance to be the star student, like, you know, I have to make things really easy for myself, or else some part of my brain is gonna attack me and tell me that I can't do it, or you're gonna fuck it up, or you're not good enough, or, you know, come up with my little cheat sheet of topics before I go do this podcast so I don't say anything bad about myself, or, you know, oh God, I'm gonna say something bad about Grant. But the Periscope fighting, that was good. I think he'll like that. Because that got a good laugh. So that's kind of, I would say, from everything I've read, Little Voice Mastery, or watching Amy Jo Berman talk about being a casting director and why you're fucking yourself in your auditions. So many things on my bookshelf. Ram Dass, you know, like everything. The list could go on and on. But really, it's these little things that I have to tell myself that I find makes the biggest difference. You just have to talk to yourself.
It's funny, I think, because this comes up. It's come up a lot, maybe almost every time. It's that the notion that we try and push here. And I think it's that original, but I think the way we teach it may be. But the discovery, and it's funny that it has to be that, the discovery that you are enough. Right? It's like, because to me, we all are. But for some reason, we have to go through this journey to figure out that we're enough. Like I was saying to you about how I stopped thinking on stage finally. It's like, you know what? I don't have to. I'm enough. I don't have to worry. My perspective is just as valid as anyone else's.
Unless they're wrong.
No, then it's more valid. No, but yeah, because there's no reason to. I get a kick out of. I never understand it because I also like I don't see when I'm talking to you. I basically whoever I'm talking to, I basically think I'm their age, right? It's in my mind because I don't recognize it. Like if I was here, I'd be thinking, who's the old guy talking to that girl, right? But since I'm here, I'm just like, hey, what's up? We're just talking. And I always see people as equals, right? I might know some stuff that they haven't heard yet, but I'm just like, oh, you just haven't heard it yet. That's all. And now you've heard it, right? And now you're informed. Now you own it. So you're enough. You're enough, Rasika.
Oh
you are
God.
enough.
Is that going to be what you end our podcast on? That's so
it's sad.
Awesome. Where was that 14? By the way, you don't own You Are Enough, right? Like it's okay if people quote not you on.
I think every fucking self-help guru in the world probably says you are enough at some point.
It hasn't stuck though.
Well, I think I think the thing in improv you realize is that the way you figure it out is by trying not to be you, right? You try to be someone else. You try and be faster than you are, right? You try and think as fast as you can to get ahead of the scene or something. And then eventually you just realize, oh, the best moves I've ever made in my life, I didn't think about them. I just made them, right? They were mine. It's funny how stupid our brains can be. 'Cause I remember when I was starting and still really struggling with, because I was bad then too. I remember having a dream. I was doing a herald on my parents' porch. And Noah Gregoropoulos was in the dream making all these great moves in the fucking herald, right? He was just killing in this herald on my parents' porch. And I remember waking up thinking, God, I wish I could come up with ideas like that in my dream. Right?
Yeah.
So it was me. Right? It was just me stopping me from doing that when I was conscious. It's weird how it takes a lot of just, and it really comes back to something I think you'll like because you like saying it a lot, which is fuck it. Right? That's Mick Napier's thing. But to me, it kept occurring to me at different points. Like whenever I got better was right after a time when I said fuck it. Right? Because basically I'd stop thinking and just play with abandon because I'd given up. And then that's when I realized, oh, I did learn all those things. So fuck it. So let's fuck it and do a set.
Mick Napier, man. He was going to be the teacher for Second City that I
Oh, he's one of like...
I missed 8 weeks of his wisdom.
When I talk about my teachers, I talk about like Del and Mick. Like you blew it. you blew it huge.
And on that note.
on that note, which isn't so nice, how do I turn this off?